here. We only do with money what we have been taught. If you look around and all your peers are throwing big parties and living rich, and when they see you living modestly, they make fun of you and call you poor and talk trash about you, what's the image? What's the example that we're getting here? Think of your parents. How many, I'll speak for my generation, how many of us, when we graduated, our parents told us you should buy a better car now because you're a graduate? You should buy a
Hmm.
house now that you have a new job. There was never a conversation about saving, investing, wealth building. It's just you now have done this, so you should purchase the following item so people can know you're successful.
And one of the major in line with that, talking of the parents, a lot of them are even the fundamental reasons why a lot of their children who are now adults remain neck deep in poverty. Why? Sentiments, toxic culture. Imagine they haven't done well for themselves. They fail to plan for their retirements, right? So they then see that, oh, like you said, oof, God forbid that they get to find out that you're earning 70,000 pounds or 60,000 pounds a year. You don't even have to earn that much. They are already on your neck asking for monthly handout. Now, some might say, oh yeah, you got to take care of your folks, blah, 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 blah. But most people, in the name of taking care, they do that at their own detriment. They self-sabotage. I've seen persons, they might have been the only person that made it abroad to come here to the West, yeah? And then you have siblings back home, maybe two, three siblings, inclusive of their elderly parents. They are hanging desperately on that foreign exchange, on the dollars that you're churning out on a monthly basis, on the pound sterling, on the euros. And this is some of the reasons there is emotional abuse, emotional blackmail that you must, you know, put. How can this is what we're saying? Imagine even some of the black parents that are here in the West, right? The moment they start to get tired, arthritis kicks in. They're having problem with joints and their knees now. Diabetes has knocked them over. Blood pressure and all the medications have kicked in, and then they start to blackmail you now to say, you should be giving them X amount of money. Now, some could argue that, oh, I've got to help my moms or my dad with, and stuff, because of this, and this. But they will actually drain you. I've seen parents in this country, even though they're getting X amount of pension credits on a month, on a maybe weekly basis, they're still siphoning funds from their children, trying to use them to clear the credit card debts that's been hanging on their necks for years. So those children then are neck deep in the same vicious cycle in the name of, oh, I can't say no to mom and dad. The most they can do is grumble, hit their heads against the wall, and they get sucked in. These same parents will still make way. Guess what? The same parents that are broke, that are siphoning money from you. If Mr. X is getting married next weekend, they want to take the pound sterling, convert it to a bunch of $1. The same people would defend the toxic culture. They want to be seen on video with their headgears spraying money like they've got it. So isn't that madness?
Well, yeah, it's
Even
emotional.
some of the same children that are being forced into poverty will be at the front line of spraying money and splashing out and carrying the latest cars.
I
Crack on, go on.
mean, Africans practice emotional terrorism, honestly.
I
African
love that.
parents,
Emotional
yeah,
terrorism.
African parents practice emotional terrorism. If you don't do the following things, I will emotionally abuse you. And your siblings will also do the same thing to you. So you had better do A, B, C, D so you can have peace of mind. You won't feel great about yourself, but we don't care.
Hmm.
You need to sacrifice yourself for us. Isn't the story, I sent you to school, so now you owe me? Oh, I raised you, I put a roof over your head, so now you owe me. It's a debt that never has a clear ending date. You're going to
Hmm.
pay for the rest of your life, and then you're just going to repeat it with your children. So nobody gets to move ahead. We all just stay stuck. But the amount of money available becomes less and less. Honestly, the fact that Africans have been able to immigrate should have been a tool that we were able to utilize to our benefit, but instead it's being squandered by the black tax. We have a small window of opportunity that is quickly closing. Brexit should be a great indicator of how Europe is headed. Nationalism is on the rise, and they're
Yeah.
kicking immigrants out. They're closing
Hmm.
their doors in Europe. As we speak right now, Syrian immigrants are being kicked out of Europe as we speak. They don't want them there. And, the Brits had Windrush. So Brexit is already happening. America just went through Trump. Nationalism is on the rise, and immigrants coming over, they're not too crazy about that anymore. They're slowly closing their doors. At least they want skilled immigrants. So the days of lying about how you're going to get here, they're on to you. The world is too small. This window is very, very small and we're squandering it. So, for those back home, I hope they've enjoyed what they've been able to bleed from those in the diaspora, because in 30 years, it won't be there anymore.
Hmm.
They'll have to
Hmm.
figure it out. They'll just start from zero again. If all that money was sent home and nothing useful was built, they stay stuck where they're at. Yeah, you built that big house, but your children can't eat it. So, in 30 years, good luck, honestly, is what it's going to come down to. For those in the diaspora, their children most likely won't go back, because think about it. Why would your children go back to poverty? They'll basically look and see you spent so much money home, and the end result was the family is still in poverty. So I'll just stay here. Yeah, I'll struggle here, but it's better for me to struggle here than struggle back home. Honestly, it seems like we're not operating with a plan in mind. We're just kind of doing random things here and there and there and there. But going back to what that guy says, we tend to believe that I'm doing great, so all of us must be doing great, but we're not honest with ourselves about what great is. And like that article proves, our definition of great is out of context. Just because you're making $100,000, just because you have a house, doesn't mean your children will. It doesn't mean that
Hmm.
your children will also make $100,000 like you. It doesn't mean they will be able to buy a house like you. It just means you
Hmm.
are.
Hmm.
What that article is talking about is success is how well your children do after you. That's how they're measuring success. They're not talking about you, they're talking about your children. That's the
Yeah.
definition of success that they're looking at. So, you reporting that I'm doing great doesn't mean that that's actually the truth. That article is saying, okay, let's see how your children do so we can see if you're really doing great. If your children are in poverty, you didn't do great. The money was lost.
Hmm.
You didn't succeed. Success in the West is generational wealth, inheritance. You talked about this before. In England, it was all about what legacy do you leave behind, was the definition of greatness. There's a reason millionaires build universities and schools and hospitals and write their name on it. It's legacy. They want to be known as a successful family, and here's our legacy to prove it. If the money is lost by the next generation, the legacy is gone and they're considered failures.
Hmm.
So believing that you did great means that that article is incorrect. You've misunderstood the measurement that they're using. They're looking to the next generation. Inheritance is how they're defining greatness. That's where they put a number on inheritance. How much money are you passing on is what they're saying. If you're passing on nothing, then you're not successful, because you're in the West, you're in Europe, you're in America. Success here is measured by inheritance. That's why we care about millionaires and what they pass down to their children, because their kids are going to stay rich too, and they're going to pass it on and pass it on. If the money
There
gets
you
lost, you're
go.
poor. You're poor. So the money's done. Your kids are now like everybody else. So from what I'm seeing, it seems that other immigrant groups have surpassed us, and their children, well, they'll probably own the companies that we work at. So we didn't succeed based on what I'm seeing. We had an opportunity to start at an equal playing level, and we didn't do what the others were doing, and we failed and we fell behind, and our children will pay for it.
Man.
That's what I'm reading. So
Man.
self-correct if you can, but your children will pay for your mistakes. That's the legacy that they're talking about in those articles. You'll be dead, but your children will pay for it. So if you want to talk about legacy and inheritance, look at your children. You want your kids to, I don't even know if we do think about our children when we're talking about wealth. Perhaps that's the problem. Maybe Africans aren't thinking about their children when they're thinking about success.
Let's call it spade a spade. Most Africans don't. We don't. This is what one of the things I've been banging on about before before I even got to know you, and you came on my platform. I've said this in my previous video. Most Africans don't. One of the fundamental problems is being neck deep in religiosity before they go into a conversation, before you go 5 minutes deep into finances. If you're sitting down with the average black person, particularly those religious nut jobs, Jesus is going to make its way into the conversation in 3, 2, 1, 0. People that don't like logical reasoning. You tell an average black parent about getting life insurance. If they're a child or you're a grown adult now, you have said, Dad, get life insurance and this and this and this. They have a stereotypically generated perception of you that, oh, you are the child with a sinister intention. Oh, you want them dead. Oh, I see you. You're plotting, right? Oh, you want to get rid of me so you can. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Like, for example, I'm Nigerian by roots. There is one of the toxic things in our community that drives me up the wall is you have elderly people who are financially reckless, who are neck deep in judgmental poverty. They will have the audacity to sit down. Their knees are tired now. Their hips have given way. They got blood pressure. They are on weekly medication. They have the audacity to say, I don't want you to bury me in England. When I die, I want you to ship me back home, to go bury me in my town, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And they have nothing, zilch, in their savings, right?
Well,
They have no
well,
assets. They want the best parties. They want you to spend X amount of money on them. They want you to give. I mean, it's ridiculous. They don't even think. I know people. I can even say my own extended family tree. People that they have, they don't even have the basic understanding of, say, talk about assets. Have something that you can pass on. They feel that if they die today, it's your obligation that you have to pick up that truckload of a financial pressure and give them these so-called befitting burial. What the hell is befitting burial? I'm just gonna get a spot and drop you in there. Bye, you're gone.
I mean, I'll just say this before I wrap up. Many
Yeah,
Africans have children for selfish reasons. Not all, but majority have children for selfish reasons. It's not because they want it, it, they don't see children as separate people that they should respect as individuals. You're just supposed to be an extension of your parents. So what you want doesn't matter. You're just an extension of me. You're just another part of me. You're not a separate person. And that plays a part in what you're talking about, where instead of thinking about your children's future, you're just thinking about yourself after you're gone. It still has to be about you after you're gone. Rather than thinking, let me make things easy for my children so they don't suffer when I pass, you don't care about that. It's very selfish. But that just shows the type of parent that you were all along. It was never about making things easy for your children. They were supposed to
mm,
make things easy for you. That's how you viewed it. And that really is a big African mentality. Children are supposed to make things easy for their parents, but that's not how it's supposed to work. You're supposed to make it easy for your children. Let's tell the truth. Some African parents resent their children if they think they're going to have a better life than them. So they will purposely make sure their children can never do better, can't live better than them, can't have a much more comfortable life than them. Because to them is, I didn't have that. Why should you? If I suffered,
boom.
so should you.
I have been saying this. God damn it. Thank you. Man, you know what, man? I've got to calm myself down. I've been saying this. Those evil, nasty, toxic parents that they know that you're going to have a better life, they will do everything and anything to sabotage their children for selfish and vindictive reasons. Man, you know what, man? Hey, carry on. Woo!
Right. So, and then there are the parents, those are the same parents who are in competition with you. That's why they tell you to build them a house, buy them a car. They're competing with you because you're abroad and they believe you're doing better than them. So now they have to compete with you. So you make sure they're at the same level as you. How can you do better than them? That's impossible. They have to be at the same level as you, and you're going to financially provide that, even if it breaks you. They're in competition with you. And that's really what it comes down to. You're actually competing against your own parents. They don't want you to do better than them. They're not going to allow it. And if they have to sabotage you to make it happen, they will. That's why they won't even pass on information about finances to you because they don't want you to succeed. They're jealous, they're envious, they will sabotage you, they will break your self esteem so you can never think that you will go beyond them.
Mm.
Unfortunately, that's the truth. Your own parents might not even like you.
Ah, man, you know what, man? You set me on fire, and then we're about to bring the show to an end. Gosh, your own
It's,
parents might not even like you. And
and
some of
that's
them, just because they didn't achieve XYZ, like you rightly said, please just emphasize on that a little bit more, that they will get out of their way to sabotage.